Less than 1% of pro golfers are Black. Only 8 Black women have reached the LPGA, and none have won an LPGA major. But Ray Lee is looking to change that. This is Karita Parks, founder of Double Take Sports, and welcome to our first installment of Women in the Game, where we are highlighting some women who are doing amazing things throughout sports. Our first guest is Rayab Lee. She goes by Ray Lee. She's a former Division I golfer turned pro, and she's doing some great things. Her goal is to earn her LPGA card and become the first Black woman to win an LPGA major. Ray, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for taking the time out this afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to start off with your journey into golf because obviously it plays a huge role in your life. So tell us first how you got started and how you even got into the game.
So I'm a military brat, and my dad was stationed in Okinawa, Japan when I was in middle school, and he's an avid golfer. And so I picked up golf as a way to bond with him. And after that, it just turned into so much more.
So it started off as bonding, but now it's taking you to a point where you are pro. But I want to start, I know it like we said, it started off as a bonding moment with your father, but how did it build up to a point where you decided that you wanted to go pro? So take us through just from getting into golf to where you are now.
So when I got into golf, I would always spend time with my dad on the course. And after that, I started practicing alone, and I figured out I actually enjoy it. And after I broke 80 the first time, my freshman year of high school, I was like, wow, I actually, have a shot at, going to college and turning pro. So that was the turning point.
Nice. Now, for all the non-golfers out there, tell us what it means to break 80 and what the significance of that is.
I mean, everybody wants to see a 7 or a 6 in front of their score. So when you break 80, it's like, okay, I'm shooting in the low digits or single digits. But yeah, that's like the score to determine whether or not you could play college golf or even make it to the next level just by breaking 80 when you're younger.
Now, you did play college golf because I mentioned you're a former Division I athlete. So tell us more about your collegiate career. I know you went to Towson. Let's explore that a little bit, how your college career.
Yeah, so I went to Towson University on a women's golf scholarship. It's Division I. My lowest round there was a 71. I also majored in computer science, so balancing both being a student athlete and a STEM major was very challenging, but I did put up a few scores. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time.
A STEM major. So she's also very smart and out here playing golf. Now, you gave us that brief overview of the college portion of your career. So what did it take from there to actually go pro?
First, I definitely sat down with myself and figured out the logistics, practice plan, how consistent I want it to be when deciding whether or not to turn pro, that financial portion. So there's everything you have to consider because you're funding your own tournaments. You don't have these NFL, NBA contracts where if you don't play, then, you still get paid. So that's one factor to take into account. And another factor was how bad did I want it, set and sacrifice. So
How bad did you want it? I want to explore that a little bit because I think in anything, if you're going pro, you do have to want it. And there's just a lot of that goes into it athletically. So can you just speak a little bit more about how the portion where you just said, how bad did I want it? Like, what does that entail for you?
consistency, getting up every day, getting 1% better, even if you don't feel like it.
Mm.
Knowing that you're probably going to be 1 out of 100 at a tournament, the only one out there, and still showing up for yourself. Um, as well as investing financially, physically, and mentally every day. And, knowing you're going to miss out on certain things and, determining whether or not the sacrifice is worth it.
That's powerful because I don't think that people really understand the it's a mental game too. It's not just
100%.
physical. And I think everything that you just said, and especially golf is definitely a mental game, but we'll get more into that because we're going to head to the course to talk more about the next step in your career. So, Ray, we just talked about your journey into golf, but now let's discuss the next step in your career. You have a lofty goal of earning your LPGA card. There's only 8 Black women who have ever been on the LPGA, and we need more women of color. So, from your experience, because you have been actively working towards that goal, what does it take to make it to the LPGA?
It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of sacrifice financially, physically, mentally every day. You have to always have the right representation. You have to always carry yourself highly. Also, you have to have the right connections as well. And you just have to practice day in, day out.
Okay. Now, speaking of practice, take us a little bit in a day in the life or a week in the life. What does actually practicing and training and all of that, what does that look like to get to the LPGA?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming it's more than what you would normally do.
Yeah. So every day I start out 6 a.m. by working out.
Okay.
And then after that, it's just hours of practice, whether it's playing 18 holes on the course and then banging balls after, or just going out and just hitting balls. You're just constantly practicing, constantly trying to improve.
And you're practicing for the tournaments that will kind of move you towards qualifying.
Yeah. So usually the tournaments that pro golfers are in, there's a couple qualifying spots for the top 2 people to either get on to a different higher up tour or LPGA tour. So that's what you're really fighting for.
Okay. And then a part of that, I know one of the main parts of it is Q School, right? So tell us more about Q School. Explain what role that plays in getting to the LPGA.
Yeah. So every pro golfer or a female pro golfer, we're striving to pass Q School, which is towards the end of the season in the fall.
Okay.
It's a multi-stage tournament series that happens around a couple months time span. And each stage you get knocked off. And it determines whether or not you're going to get full status for your LPGA card.
Okay. And I know that it's different for everybody how long it could take to get to LPGA. But if you were to just guesstimate, how long is this process typically?
It really depends on the person.
Okay.
It depends on where you're at in life, your skill level. But for most people, it takes a few years because you have to gain that experience. And that experience comes through playing tournaments and getting to know yourself better,
right?
How you react.
Okay. Now, something that you mentioned is the financial piece of this. And I know that that's a huge factor that people don't always understand. They think that once you're a pro golfer, you're making money. Like we talked about this in the NFL, NBA, you go pro, you sign a contract, you're making money, but it's not the same process for golf. So talk about the financial pressures, I should say, of trying to reach this goal.
Yeah. I'd say the financial pressure is very heavy because sometimes you're having to fund your own tournaments. And these tournaments can be total $1,500 to $2,000 per tournament regarding travel fees, lodging accommodations, rental car, the actual tournament fee. So everything adds up. So it taught me a lot of discipline on and off the course, and just how to, I guess, regulate, what I'm doing in the everyday life, whether it's financially or practicing.
Ray, building on what we were just talking about the financial pressures of the goal you're trying to reach, I know that much of this is being financed out of your pocket. So how important is it for you or any golfer going on a journey like this to get sponsors and partnerships?
So sponsorships and partnerships are very important. It's a huge part in professional golf because it allows me to practice without having that weight on my shoulders of how am I going to pay for my next tournament or, travel, lodging, etc. But I do give lessons and clinics as a golf instructor, as well as caddy to offset those costs.
Okay. So you do things to offset the cost. But at the end of the day, if you have a sponsor or a partner, like you said, it just takes the pressure off of you and you can focus on the tournament itself and just focusing on your craft. Speaking of your craft, representation in golf has come a long way, but there's still so far for it to go. Less than 1% of professional golfers are Black. And so while you are pursuing the goal of getting to the LPGA, I mean, you're also someone that's going to represent Black women possibly on the tour. And it's so important for young Black girls to see someone like you out there. So talk about just, like I said, the importance of representation in golf.
So when I was growing up, there was not a lot of representation at that level.
Yeah.
So I definitely inspired to uplift the next generation, and I want to inspire the next generation of golfers, especially Black women, because for me, again, I didn't get that growing up. And representation is visibility, seeing is believing. So I think just by younger women seeing me out there, I hope they would feel like it'd be tangible for them to accomplish whatever dream they have in mind, whether it's golf or whatever else they put their mind to.
I know it's your personal goal, but just in what you said, is representation one of the reasons that you wanted to get to the point of being a part of the LPGA tour?
Yes, it's one of the main reasons because, again, there's not a lot of Black women out here becoming a professional golfer. And I think definitely there needs to be a lot more. And I just would like for other people to be aware that, we're here to stay, and just to get inspired by that. So that's definitely one of the main reasons why I chose to turn professional is for representation.
Yeah. Do you have any advice when it comes to increasing representation? I know there's a lot of programs out here that are trying to introduce the game of golf to more Black people, but and especially girls as well. Do you have any advice or know of any pathways that'll help increase representation in the sport?
Well, for starters, I would say first, I would like for the parents to, instead of getting their children into other sports, maybe to try out golf first. And there are junior leagues all across America, such as First Tee, Junior PGA League, which I was a coach for, and several others that, offset the cost of, getting your child into golf. So
shout out to the First Tee, my first job out in college. Well, thank you so much. That is great perspective. And something else that we were talking about offline is, and this reminds me of my First Tee days because they had, it was like honesty, integrity. It takes all of these characteristics to be a golfer because golf is an individual sport, which is different from a lot of other sports. And you said it's a lonely journey. And I think that that's an important point. Talk about that aspect.
yeah, so unlike other sports, this is not a team sport. This is very individualized. Everything is on you, how you play, your mental aspect. So yeah, accountability is like number one in golf. So this is definitely a lonely road because you're practicing with yourself. You're traveling by yourself, everything.
Well, we're excited to see what you're going to do. And it's been such a pleasure to talk to you about this. Before we wrap up, let's just get to know you a little bit in the sense of, are there any golfers that you maybe looked up to as you were growing up? or even now. Yeah.
Of course, Tiger Woods, especially since his mom is from Thailand and my mom is from Thailand too.
Love that.
Also Rory McIlroy as well. So
Now, Ray, let everyone know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and how they can support you.
okay. You guys can find me on Instagram at Rayab Lee, RayabAlee, as well as my website called rayongolf.co. But yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for being my first guest on Women in the Game. I think that this is the perfect person to have. Like I said, love your story, love your journey, and we look forward to seeing how it all pans out.
Thank you so much, Prita, for having me.